Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Confession. Story 1. I was an insane klepto as a child and I don't know why. I would steal literally anything I could, even if it was something small or irrelevant. My cousins were all older than me and in the same age group, and I was the youngest. It was the early 2000s and everyone had cute hoops with their names in it and cute little purses, and I wanted to be just like them. Whenever they weren't looking, I would steal their lip gloss or use it and put it back. I am so embarrassed ABT that. Or if I was at a family friend's house, I would steal small things like unused notebooks or gum. Literally anything. I also grew up as an only child, so maybe that's why. But I don't steal anymore and I'm embarrassed of how I was. Story 2. I stole something, though I did go back and pay for it later. This is the second time I've posted about this today because God, it is eating at me. My town had a flea market today. I've literally never committed a crime in my life, never even thought about stealing shit that wasn't mine before, but today for some reason that changed after one of my friends started swiping things. Maybe I'm just easily influenced by others, I guess. We were walking around and I saw a cute plush that I wanted. My friend told me to steal it, and they stood over me and kinda made me panic. They kept going, "You're stalling, just do it." And I impulse shoved it into my bag. We walked away and started to leave, but I felt so guilty that I ran back and gave the guy a 20 to cover it and something else my friend took. I felt awful. I still feel awful. Even if I rectified my mistake, the fact that I was dumb enough to do that in the first place makes me upset. I'm 18. I should know better. I do know better. I don't know what came over me today. I'm never doing something like that again. Story 3. I never threw away that box of cigarettes I found in my closet. F16, chronic nicotine addict for literally anything. I'm said to be clean and have told ones I love I am, but when that box fell from nowhere in my closet, I couldn't hold myself back. I told people I threw it away, when I didn't. They trust me to be clean and I failed. I smoked each and every one to the filter when I said I hadn't. They trusted I won't, but I did, and to keep a smile on their face I say I didn't. This was a month ago. Lying is the wrong thing to do. Not the worst thing in the world, but I am not proud. I have more stories to tell here, but that's all for later. Story 4. I stole $30 out of a wallet I found in college and bonus. Freshman year of college, I was walking back to my dorm alone after a night at the bar. I found a wallet on the street. I naturally looked inside it. I don't remember how much cash was in it, but I think around $100. I took $30 and handed the wallet to the night attendant for them to turn in. Bonus: my friend and I each stole a candy bar from a gas station once just to see if we could. Story 5. I used to drive my father's car at night in 2010. When I was 14, I had to help my father fix his Mustang. The problem was a mysterious increase in fuel consumption. The mystery was actually me taking it for a spin at night when he was sleeping. We actually found a leaking hose, and that fixed it. Eventually I was caught because one morning the rear tires were bald. Story 6. I used to emotionally abuse people and then laugh about it. I was very young at the time, but I would intentionally verbally and emotionally abuse the people around me. It started with me telling my mom I hated her just because I got a thrill when she said that I hurt her by saying that. I would say it over and over until I would see her get really upset and then pretend to be sorry and apologize. I don't know how many times over the few years I acted like this, but it was enough that even years later I remember doing it. I was worse to my first real friend. I would dangle our friendship over her head and tell her awful things about how I was the only person that liked her and that if she didn't do what I told her, I wouldn't be her friend anymore. I would talk about how much I hated her and force her to do everything my way. I did all of this at 4 to 5 years old. No, I'm not joking, I was that young and that cruel. I legit got a little jolt every time I made them upset. I thrived off of emotionally abusing them and then would giggle as they expressed how distraught they were at my words. My friend, rightfully, refused to hang out with me once we started kindergarten. I only had one friend because of how awful I was and I started gaining weight and, as shown by my own behavior, children can be cruel. I started to get bullied and it never really stopped until my junior year of high school. I made other friends throughout the years and while I was never that cruel again, I was thoughtless in my actions at times. I never did anything like I did as a small kid, however. I've thought of reaching out to my ex-friend before, try to apologize, but we're in our mid-20s now and she seems to be living her life to the fullest. Our friendship was ultimately short and she benefited from no longer allowing me in her life. Doesn't mean I don't think about what would have happened if I was never bullied. I'm scared to this day I would have been a real monster. Edit, after some thought, I sent a message via Facebook. I let her know that I was sorry for how I treated her in the past, that I don't expect her to forgive me, but that she deserved an apology after what I did to her. I don't know if she will respond, but since I can only apologize to one of them, I felt it was good for closure. Edit 2, wanted to add context, we're friends on Facebook and Instagram, we went to school together for 14 years, and have interacted since she stopped being my friend. We were amicable throughout school and have worked on school projects together before. My whole thing is that I just never apologized. We moved on like what I did never happened/mattered. Hope that clears up some things. LOL. Story 7. How am I supposed to live after this? I don't know. I don't know how to start this, but I am going to cry because of it. Yesterday, I was at school, and my teacher called me to tell me something. But on my way back to my seat, some shithead didn't end up picking up their eraser from the floor and it made a goddamn fart noise when I stepped or walked on it. It was humiliating. Now everyone in my class thinks I tooted when I didn't. I swore on my mom, my dad, my family I did NKT toot but they didn't end up believing me. This is bullying. This is elementary bullying. I literally don't care what anyone has to say about me but I feel so ashamed because people actually believe that I tooted when it was the goddamn eraser. Story 8. I saw people having intercourse and then followed them home. So this happened about 3 or 4 years ago. I was over at my friend's house and we were biking around his neighborhood. In his neighborhood, there is this field that is public property and we go in it all the time for various reasons. Well, on this day, we decide to go over there just to hang out and whatnot. At the bottom of the hill, we see a pink blanket. We wonder what it is doing down there. A little bit later, we notice the blanket is moving, up and down. It then dawns on me that these people are fucking, and I cannot believe what I am seeing. We then try to see if they notice our presence by talking very loudly. This does not work. We both go back to my friend's house for a few minutes, and then we head back to the field to see if these guys are still there. Well, they left, but we saw them walking down the street with the blanket, and we keep our distance from them but follow them home, not making any noise. We see them go into their home like nothing happened. TLDR, saw people fucking in a field, me and my buddy followed them to their house like creeps. Story 9. Grazed a parked car and drove away without leaving any information. I'm currently in a job I hate and leaving soon. I was stressed and there had been a crash so was driving a coach down back alleys. Come across this narrow road. I was looking ahead and didn't notice how narrow the road actually was so I was positioned what I thought wouldn't been in my lane but actually the road was much smaller. So I made slight contact with a parked car. Now I feel horrible that I drove away. The traffic was bumper to bumper and didn't want to stop and make things worse. I stopped short of going back to base and got out and looked at the damage. It was just superficial paint transfer for me, which rubbed off with no actual damage so I'm hoping it's the same for the car too. Story 10. I keyed someone's car today because they parked poorly. Today I got the most irrationally mad that I've been in a while. A friend ruined a concert for me last night. This morning I woke up with a killer headache. I was running late for work and my belt broke when I went to put it on. A busy intersection on the way to work was choked down to one lane because of construction, so it took like 10 minutes to get through, and when I was waiting for the light, some asshole in a lifted pickup truck, with a vanity license plate with something along the lines of M0NST3R on it, that's not what it said, but same idea, they were proud assholes, forced its way in front of a car in front of me, making me miss another light cycle. When I finally go to work, the parking lot was full, and I made my way to what appeared to be an open spot somewhere in the middle of it, but when I got there I found that the car parked in one of the spots next to it was needlessly overlapping the line by about 2 feet. It clearly wasn't a case of the car next to them parking poorly and then pulling away, leaving them to look like the asshole. They clearly turned into the parking space from the wrong direction and did nothing to straighten their car to fit the spot. The spot that they were bleeding over into was on the driver's side, so it was clear when they left the vehicle that they were parked poorly, and they still left it. Anyway, I had parked at the far corner of the parking lot, around 100 yards further. Even though 100 yards isn't far, and I could have ridden it off, at that point I was blind with anger and was honestly considering going home because my head was killing me and I was worried that I'd come in too hot and get myself in trouble. I chose not to do that though. Walking to the front of the store, I had to pass the vehicle that had been parked poorly, and impulsively I grabbed my keys from my pocket and dragged them as hard as I could across the entire back of the car as I walked by. I instantly realized how fucked up that was, and started regretting it. I walked straight back to the bathrooms in the store and hid there for like 10 minutes to stop seeing red, and then started my shift as if nothing happened. The day went on as normal, and nothing came of it. I know the cameras don't really cover that part of the parking lot, and I did it in a way that I don't think was obvious, so I don't think it will ever come back to me, but I feel bad about it. Story 11. I sent my friend to the hospital by giving him way too much caffeine. When I was 17, I threw a party. We decided to take shots of garbage concoctions from the fridge. Every last one getting nastier, I decided to make it a lot worse. I knew he would survive. I googled how much caffeine would kill a man. I asked him if he was sure that he wanted to take this shot. It had 2,000 milligrams of caffeine and foam on the top of it. He took it. I told him to drink a lot of water. He didn't drink that much. He was looking fine for the first several minutes, but then he sat down and started looking off to the distance with an intense stare on his face. He got a ride to the hospital. I asked if he wanted a ride, but he insisted that his sister can drive him. I apologized right after and asked how it went. He said he was fine. He got in 4. I remember him telling me that the nurse asked him if your friend tried to kill you. Extra, I am 21 now. Last week, I have been scoping out my lurking feelings of regret with the help of the voices, and took nearly the same dose I gave him, roughly 10 mg/lb of body weight. I saw a visual of my friend pointing out exactly how much caffeine to take. I took 1,800 milligrams of caffeine. The first 3 hours went by nervously. I thought I was going to die a couple of times, laughed a couple of times about how easy it was. But at the 3-hour mark, I started to hallucinate a very vivid and surreal reality. Looked like heaven, thank God. I got an impending sense of death. My heart felt like it was pumping steaming hot slush. Water was not enough. I took some ibuprofen. I felt okay afterwards. My heart was weakened for the next couple of days. I felt horrible for what I had done to him with a new perspective. I feel like shit still. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.